Good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Good evening.
It's always nice to have new people on the show.
Yeah, Gibbo, it's nice to have you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank
this
you.
Is actually the 101 show. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
I'm getting some stick for having a week off now. It's good. Well,
It's not that we actually didn't forget to mention that until more than halfway through last week or anything, But, you did get a mention last week.
Yeah, I know. It just moved on seamlessly without me. Made me question my very existence, to be fair. So.
But you've come back bigger and better than ever because you've got a new camera. So that's
Yeah, that doesn't just point at the top of my head. Yeah, I've got a new. Yeah.
Optimum lighting there, Gibbo.
Yeah, it's not quite a ring light. It's a desk lamp that's at a jaunty angle. So yeah.
I take on the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Welcome, Sabbie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having
me. So, for those that don't know, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
Why am I here? So I'm Sabbie Heesh. As you guys are aware, I am one of the GB Hockey and England goalkeepers. And I also work for Ritual Hockey. So that is kind of the reason why I'm kind of on tonight, to kind of discuss my role with Ritual Hockey. We, of course, sponsor Sport 101, and we're delighted that they're on board. And according to Tess, I do fun things.
Well, let's just clarify this. Her Instagram used to say she did fun things. And then for some reason she got chickened out. And then now it just says Great Britain hockey player. And then like everyone who's sponsored by. So she got boring. She used to do fun things.
I used to do fun. No, I think my Instagram account needed a bit of hockey content, Tess. So I kind of needed
to be fair, there was a stage where when I first joined the team, I was like, are you sure this is the person on Instagram? Because she has no hockey photos whatsoever. There was one edgy black and white one.
That goes unnoticed. No, I needed a change. Needed to acknowledge Ritual Hockey as well, of course.
Obviously.
Well, whilst we're on the subject of Instagram, you take beautiful photos. So just like your other part of you.
My other side. Yeah, I'm from a bit of a creative family. I've got my sister's a graphic designer, and I've always been very envious of kind of what she does and kind of the design aspect and her role that she does with her work. And so I kind of like channeled that a little bit. I like kind of capturing things outside of hockey and kind of, I don't know, showcasing that I'm not just a hockey player, and actually you can have both. You can have a life outside and identity outside, and that's something I'm passionate about, kind of like traveling, experiencing the culture, different cultures and the photography and kind of all of that. So I kind of went the other route. I didn't start with like the hockey content and then kind of branch out. I was definitely kind of identity outside of hockey, and then hockey's an additional to that. And kind of, I don't know. I think Instagram can be like, I don't know, it's a bit fake, isn't it? A bit false of kind of like what your life's like, and actually my account definitely highlighted that when I was a hockey player, but actually none of my content was anything to do with hockey, which I could be a fraud. But no, I can confirm that I'm a hockey player, and I've got 20 caps, GB and England combined.
I think that life outside of hockey is so important. Like all of my friends back home, none of them have anything to do with hockey. So when I go home, they're like, "Oh, hockey going all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." And they're like, "End of conversation." Like literally their limit of hockey. And it's actually really refreshing to have that, and because I'm into climbing and outdoors and that kind of side, and would like to get into photography. I'm not very good, but I'm trying to get better. Not brave enough to share my stuff yet, but yeah, I think having that side outside is like massive. Do you think it helps you in your training and your performances and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm going to take you back to my uni days, and actually kind of why I kind of put quite a lot of effort into the identity outside of hockey. I did my dissertation on basically how much having an identity just as an athlete can kind of influence your life post retirement, or through deselection, or through an injury. And actually, I found the data I found showed that the more a player or an athlete associates with that athletic identity, the actual harder the transition is post hockey. And I think that's important more than ever, being a keeper. But also I have obviously had an 18-month injury in 2017. And I think that kind of woke me up a little bit and kind of made me explore things outside of hockey, because again, you're not in control of your, well, in part of your kind of career, obviously through deselection and then injury. So it's always been at the forefront of my mind to kind of have that identity. And I've kind of I started that from basically joining the program. I already was working for Ritual back in 2015. And I kind of continued that through the program, and it's definitely helped. It gives you a different focus. It also keeps you super grounded and having a really good perspective. And actually, it highlights how lucky we are when we do play and when we do train and compete, that not everybody has that opportunity. So it's definitely helped my performance. And actually, I think more of the girls now have got is a real big focus for us as a squad, that we all have kind of something outside, whether that's studying or working or developing other skill sets. And actually, I say this squad is definitely in a different place to kind of do the cycle and the cycles that have gone before. There is definitely a bigger emphasis on kind of having that identity and having that other thing outside of hockey. And we have a really, really good performance lifestyle advisor in Emma Mitchell, who will push us and make sure that we are exploring these avenues. And yeah, she's obviously I've worked with her for the last 7-8 years across both cycles, and she's even changed her way of delivering and kind of pushing us into that kind of dual aspirations kind of aspect. So it's super good, and I will literally say it to anybody that comes into the squad: have something outside of hockey, because it makes you enjoy it more, gives you perspective, and it sets you up for the rest of your life post hockey, being an athlete or anything like that.
Got a question straight off the bat from Keir. So bit of goalie love there. Sabbie, does being full-time become just a job? And I guess he's talking about from a hockey perspective. And like most people, over time, when motivation maybe gets a bit low, having that full-time like athlete job. I guess it's to both of you, really.
Yeah, I think with the centralized program, especially, obviously we are training day in, day out, and it's really hard to lose focus in terms of it just being a job. And I think having something outside kind of, again, as I mentioned, highlights the importance and like the perspective and how lucky we are actually doing it. I actually don't see hockey as a job, but that's probably because I enjoy it, and I've also got Ritual, and I class that as my job in that sense.
One last thing that's coming from me, and I got to bring this up. Tessie's goalkeepers is just a block of styrofoam. What's your view of forwards? Well remembered. That was ages
That's a
ago.
bad
That's good. That's a proper fan of the show question now.
Wow.
There's any context here?
Okay, so Tom Millington was on, and we were talking about
Fantastic.
classic goalie, forward, striker, banter. And I said, Sabbie's the ultimate example of the banter that I have at GB with the goalies. And yeah, Sabbie and I literally come up to each other and we're like, 1-0. Yeah, so that's why I said that sometimes I think that you guys are just styrofoam to hit pass.
That's help.
I
need to realise that you're also people in the goal.
I'm trying to think what you guys are in an example back.
A ball machine.
All I can think of is ball machine. All I can think of is minions operating a ball machine is what I was.
Yes.
But what's my view of forwards? They're annoying. But no. As Tess mentioned, me and her have a little battle in training. Who can score them? Well, if Tess can score past me, she gets a point. If I can save, then I get a point. But no, she's like my nemesis when Tess is in the circle, because she can wind up and smash it from wherever. And actually, yeah, we are one of the most clinical in our squad, Tess, putting those goals in. But I would prefer to be on your team, mate.
Me too, Sab.
Not the other end.
But the rivalry continues on Monday.
Yeah, bring it.
Back and fresh.
Are you back stick and ball now, Tess? And
Yeah, I'm back
like,
completely on Monday.
oh, brilliant. Good
Been
stuff.
a long few months, but yeah, I'm very happy.
Is it 3 months, Tess? 3 months?
It's 4.5 since I came out with my ankle injury, and then classic, you'd get an extra, you'd get a pubic bone strain, wouldn't you, when you're almost back? So
Classic. Injury within an injury. We've all been there, Tess.
yeah, but we're over it now, so it's good news.
It's good.
So just on that injury bit, before we go into talking about kind of sponsorship and that kind of side of things, like, you've been pretty unlucky with injuries, and I think it's probably a slight understatement. How do you then, did Ritual and all your kind of like your photography and your creative side, did that help in your kind of mental health and that kind of side of things?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it was obviously a pretty tough time in 2017, but again, there was a lot of I look back on that period as a lot of positives, in the sense that I could then focus on what I kind of wanted to do outside of hockey post whenever I retired. So Ritual became a forefront of my mind. And actually, I did a number of different courses through our personal development award over those 2 years in digital marketing, and kind of diploma, and kind of pushed that side. And that definitely helped my mental health. It meant I had a purpose, had a focus. Although I was kind of training in Bisham every day, those grueling 3-session-a-day rehab days, but at the same time, I then was still being able to pursue a career outside. And actually, I look back on those 18 months, and actually it was a super long period of good period of like self-growth, in not only for myself, but also in Ritual, and kind of what, like, it confirmed what I wanted to do basically post when I retire.
So sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really cool topic, because I've had lots of conversations with different people over the years about it, and I think it's something where I don't think people fully grasp what it's about. I think people think, oh, they're sponsored, they get free gear, or some brands offered me X. But I feel I always get really strongly attached. And yes, I have been sponsored by a couple of different companies, and obviously now absolutely loving life with Ritual. And my thing has always been, I've wanted to feel that relationship and that attachment. Like, how do you're on the inside, so there's us kind of mere mortals on the outside. You're actually in there managing this and involved with this. Like, what's it like on your side in terms of that whole sponsorship world?
Yeah, I mean, it was always an interesting topic, and actually something that we try to do as a brand. Basically, if you look at Ritual and you look at our top players, I could name them all, and I could also probably name how long they've been with the brand. And actually, one thing that Ritual love is the loyalty and the relationship we have with our players. And actually, it is no coincidence that we don't have that many players on board at the top level, and that's deliberate. It's not that we aren't approached by players basically to come on board. It's because we want to make sure we can look after them, and they can then get the most from us. We can get the most from them. That's one thing that we have kind of like that also does filter down. So obviously we do offer the top sponsorships, but we also then have an ambassador program that runs from 20% off to 50% off. And again, we have some very strict criteria that we look for in all those ambassadors that come on board, and we are quite thorough. But there are quite a number of different factors that we look at, and it does depend on the location of these applicants and kind of the market that they're in. So obviously country specific. For example, Spain, their hockey market isn't as big as, say, Holland. So there's all these different things that kind of make up the decision whether we take a player on board or not. actually, as you say, it's all about that two-way relationship, and we want to promote that player in a way that they will benefit, but also we will benefit. And I think, I'd like to think we do that with our players and we look after them. And as I said, we don't have a huge amount at that top bracket, but we do obviously really value our players below, because they're the players that are training every week. They're the players that are showcasing our products more regularly, obviously, than our international athletes in terms of schools and like coaching companies. But yeah, it's definitely a two-way thing, and that's definitely something we want to kind of continue moving forward.
Because Zach's been with, take Zach as an example. Like, I remember seeing Zach as an under 15, under 16, and he was using Ritual then. So like, he's somebody I think is a real, I love that when you see him kind of go all the way through. I think that's really.
When he was 11, I think he's been Ritual. Kevin Giles actually got him involved with Ritual right back when he was super young. And actually, again, he's a perfect example of someone that we do really value and we do need to look after. And you can even see it in, we've just re-signed Bob and Nellen, so Belgium's captain, so she's extended. Josh Belts over in Oz has extended. Another Spanish, Gigi, and Garcia have also extended. And it's that just makes me proud to work for Ritual and to kind of be able to kind of, that they want to come back and actually not kind of go to different brands and like float around, because we're not interested in players that change every 2 years, every year. We want the guys that are in it for the long run. Is
that a red flag when you see that? Players that go...
we'll do a lot of research. Well, to a fair amount of research on players and kind of where have they been before? Do they switch brands every year? Are they after the best deal? We get quite a lot of players that will obviously reach out to, say, 10 different brands and then kind of pick and choose which kind of level which brand they want to go with based on the levels that they are given. Mm-hmm. And actually, we would obviously reach out and say, offer them, say, 30% off online, set up their account for them, and that account will be inactive. So then what we do is, if it's been inactive for, say, a year and a half, we would then close the account, because obviously they're not interested in Ritual. We don't want them in our books. We don't want to market to them if they're not interested at all. So it's kind of like things like that we continue to kind of chip away at, and to kind of, just like, obviously sometimes we do get it wrong and we then give a sponsorship to the wrong player, but we do have a real like strict kind of strict criteria for each level of sponsorship we give out. And then
how important, and it's a fairly obvious question, how important is people's social media? I couldn't find the right person.
I knew you were going to say that. Obviously, with the world we're living at the moment, everything's kind of online, everything's digital, and that is one aspect that we obviously look at, because for us, promotion online is just branding, brand awareness, any link backs to our social pages on websites, but it isn't the be all and end all. And I think if you're not one of those people that are really active on Instagram or Facebook, then I don't want to say it's a barrier to kind of getting a sponsorship, but it would for sure help. But we have, Tess knows a prime example of an international athlete that doesn't have Instagram, Laura Unsworth. But again, what she brings off on the pitch and kind of her hockey style, I think any brand would love to have her on board.
Have social media.
Also,
Barry Middleton doesn't have social media.
Exactly, and actually, it's definitely one thing that we would consider, and actually their presence and kind of their interaction with our content is huge in growing that digital realm of Ritual. But I'd like to kind of hammer home that it isn't the be all and end all. There's a long list. There's obviously playing ability. There's location, which kind of, I don't know, your future and your ability, like based on coaches' feedback. Like we obviously, as you say, like Zach as an example, we kind of like to pick up players quite early. So like under 16 internationals, so obviously ability and kind of the ability of the player and kind of their playing level is paramount. And then there's obviously other things that come underneath that that we would.
In absence of like the case with Laura Unsworth not having Instagram, say, and someone who doesn't have a social media presence, I guess you like those things in a way because you can measure impact and you can see how many people they're engaging with. In absence of that, how do you measure someone's impact in terms of representing your brand without those things?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's to justify payments to quite a lot of players is quite difficult because, I mean, a stick, say, is £350, £400, and to get into then measure that in terms of kind of, I don't know, this player gets paid, say, £5,000 a year, and we obviously can't measure if they're off social, and also it's very difficult as well even to measure if they're on social, and that is actually something we're looking at getting into, kind of an an influencing kind of payment within the contract. But that's kind of in the early stages. But yeah, it's obviously super difficult, and actually it's more of a long-term kind of look at kind of the influence those players have had in that country in terms of sales in the country and store sales. So how much gear and how much money our distributors in that specific country buy from us, because that's where the real market and money is for a brand, is shops buying directly from us, and it's not necessarily through our website. And in an ideal world, we wouldn't have a website. We would have enough things going on in terms of enough stores on board that's where your markup, that's where most of your revenue is generated. But no, it is difficult if they're not on social.
But then I guess with someone like Laura, you'd say third Olympic cycle, Lord knows how many caps, you kind of just know it'll be a good brand ambassador without. But
yeah, I think, I mean, obviously there's one thing, you've got your content, she's playing regularly, you've got your photography content, we've got a really good blog program. So these players we want engaged online and actually creating content. There's all different ways that we kind of want to work with athletes to kind of bridge the gap between social and actually offline marketing. And actually we can always improve. We've not nailed it. And there's obviously the digital world, as you guys know, changes so regularly that we just need to stay up to date with everything that changes, and all the new apps and all the new like filters and all the new things you can do on, especially Instagram these days.
It is, yeah. I mean, it obviously is a full-time job. I mean, just to be able to keep on top of that, and when you get into large organizations, like you need a squad of people dealing with it. Like, there's just so much going on. Like, it's a whole minefield. Got a couple of questions that have come through. So Georgie Pugh, 101 original and legend. What's your favorite ritual product?
Favorite ritual product? I will have to go with the Reflex 75 goalkeeping stick. And it's quite a boring answer and predictable answer. But no, I worked hard with Nat about the design and kind of made sure there was a right balance point, but also the right amount of power, because obviously you are saving balls with one hand, so it needs to be super light, but at the same time you do need to deflect over the bar. And actually, yeah, really proud of that product. And actually, I think me and Maddie came up with the name. So Maddie used to be sponsored by Ritual, and I think we did come up with the name. It was either the name or the colour that we decided on in a bar. I do not advocate drinking, but we were on a night out, and I think we were trying to name or come up with the colour. And actually, yeah, I'm not going to say any more about colour. But
what's the name again?
Ritual and colour is coming back. Reflex 75. So the name would have been, I think it was the colour, because I think, this is going to be funny, I think we looked up at the bar and we saw Bombay Sapphire Gin.
Yeah, good.
Great.
So if you check our website in July, you will see Bombay Sapphire Blue on the Reflex.
That is fantastic.
Oh, I hope Maddie remembers that night.
You don't need to spend a lot of money on expensive think tanks to come up with ideas, do you? Just go out and take your inspiration from anywhere.
A couple of years later, then we're there.
Just don't tell that. We won't tell that.
Mike, did you have another question from the listeners or the viewers? But I've got one, but it's up to you.
I've got one more. We've got two sat here. I've got one just whilst we're still on equipment, and then if we do that,
Go for it.
so again from Ian, how's COVID playing restriction affected equipment development in the last year? More free time to kind of get the thinking juices flowing, or has it been difficult because less trial?
Nat is in charge of all the design over him and his team. He will outsource the design team over in Australia, and we've had the 2022 and 2023 sticks designed and finalized this last year, so we're all set for those launches. I think the biggest thing is so we like to keep our kind of range consistent over the years with small little improvements. I think I'm allowed to say this, but in July we will be releasing a new range for the 6 months from July to the new year, and that won't see any design changes. It's just graphic changes, and then there'll be a big change next year with small tweaks to design based on feedback, based on testing. And obviously COVID was obviously quite difficult. It was kind of impacted us more with the kind of sales and getting the sticks over to Europe, and Australia was quite difficult with the increased fees of freight. But no, yeah, we were very prepared for 2022. I've already got the designs. I've seen them all. And actually, yeah, we made the best of a bad situation.
So we're going to see some new colours at the Olympics first time. Is that what's going to?
Our custom players, our top level players, will be getting their custom sticks over the next few weeks, and they'll hopefully be using them in Tokyo.
Wow.
And then we'll start to bring the colour back in through the July range. We don't know when we're launching yet, but it is in the interim.
You used to see that a lot with football boots when I was a kid. Like David Beckham would get the first colourway of the Predators, and then they'd go on general sale type thing. You see that quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird year this year because we'd never usually bring out a range mid-year, especially it's the end of the Aussie season. It's pre-season in Europe, but I think COVID's caused a few little problems. So, but with the big launch is next year, which is super exciting. It's a bit of I can't say much, but it's a big change that will take some getting used to.
Ooh. Love that. I'm very excited. I love kit. I love kit. It's honestly when you see the pictures of all the stuff that's coming out, I'm like, oh my god, I just get so excited. I'm such a talk.
With Ritual, we have a really small kind of product range, and it's basically Nat is super it's all basically about the design, and actually he will spend 7-8 years designing certain products. He will not release to market until they're absolutely perfect, and that's kind of Ritual to a T in terms of the gear. And we just want to make sure it's super high end, and we get a lot of players asking, will you bring this out, will you bring this out, this, that, and we're literally we will bring out when it's ready, when it's perfect. And actually that's something we really value, and we really like to keep going as a brand. We don't have a mass amount of products, and we like to keep it nice and specialized. And as long as it's with the highest quality and highest quality materials, then we're on to a winner.
And just on that, I love the duffel bag. I think the duffel bag is just one of my favorite bits of kit I've ever had. It's unbelievable. It's just so well made.
You're going to do a link in bio type thing, Mike.
Oh yes, that's what I should have done. Sorry, as sponsoring.
My luggage range is super, super high end and durable. And actually, I think my bag's 5 years old. I'm the classic. I'm terrible for the brand. I use products that we don't sell anymore.
There's a sign that they're good. At last.
Yeah.
What was your question then, Gibbo?
So you can answer this as diplomatically as you like, but is the hockey stick and equipment market too saturated? Because there seems to be a lot of brands, and that would be my perception outside looking in.
100% agree. And actually, that probably makes it quite difficult in terms of players kind of wanting to jump to different sponsorships and kind of where do they start. And actually, there's a lot, especially in the UK, coming out at the moment, and that are probably super new to the market, probably want to throw some money at different players. But I would my advice to players would be stick with the brands that have been around for, especially with this day and age with COVID and everything that's going on, stick with the brands that have managed to navigate through COVID and actually have been like longevity. And actually, I mean, there's probably about 10 brands that I can think of from the top of my head that are solid brands that you could approach and have that in the back of the mind, because you don't want to be, I don't know, you don't want to sign for a brand and then that brand goes into a bit of a disaster and has to let you go.
Is there a trend that these new companies, they come out and they just set their sponsorship thresholds lower than the established brands and say try and get in that way? Is that a trend?
And actually we're not ashamed to say that at first it is getting your brand out there, and actually if that does mean offering a certain amount of sponsorships more in one country to get the sales up in that country, and then you tailor down over the years, then that is a traditional way of doing it, and actually will work, but not in the long term if you've got no kit to basically give away for free. But I think one thing, especially COVID, has hopefully brought the market a little bit closer together. I think we went through a stage of having certain brands offering ridiculous contracts, as I was saying before, like 10 to 15 to 20 grand contracts, because they have an investor or somebody that's part of the brand that basically can push money through them. And actually now certain brands have had to let go of players over the last year because they haven't been able to foresee the costs and I think hopefully it's a wake-up call for those brands that we can bring the brands together, closer together, and actually make it more competitive that way.
Cool. I remember like when I was a kid, life before even a Ritual. I'm old enough to remember pre-Ritual coming out, but like the rise of them as a company has been pretty stark. Like, when did Ritual start? I'm tempted to say 10, 12 years ago.
I think it was 2000. What we are? I think it was 11.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
so you're now established. I remember you when you were cool and new. You're still cool, but
still cool, just not new.
Yeah. But I think the key difference, like I remember looking at brands that came out around that time and thinking they were just doing things a bit differently, like being like the clothes were cooler, the bags were ones that you'd take to college or sixth form and stuff like that, like being a little bit more design led in their off-field stuff as well. So like young ones kind of do it as well, as an example. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the brands if it's just completely sponsorship, but like I think that was a big change. So the off-field push and making hockey a bit cooler through those brands, and Ritual are definitely one of those at the forefront of that, I think.
And actually that's another kind of aspect that players kind of, if they're looking for different brands, need to consider, because we are 100% not an apparel kind of brand, and there are obviously some brands out there that do that really well. And actually for people that kind of for the players wanting to seek sponsorship, if you're interested in apparel, absolutely go to a brand that's super forward with apparel, and rather than kind of expecting every brand to kind of follow that kind of footstep. But no, Ritual, we had a really good start. We had, massively helped by Ellen Hogue right from the beginning, jumping forward. And I think COVID last year was meant to be one of our biggest years in terms of kind of bringing out new products, in terms of revenue and sales and everything like that. And actually COVID's put a little bit of a stop in that, and it's going to take us a couple of more years to kind of get back to where we were in the direction we were going in. But no, Nat does a fantastic job over in Australia. He's basically a one-man team over there, outsourcing everything. He knows exactly what's going on in the brand, and actually he's created a brand that he basically wanted to set out from the beginning, which is basically a high-end brand that he wants players to kind of discover. I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was growing up, in terms of discovering new products and new ranges and new brands, and actually that's kind of what we wanted to do with Ritual, in terms of we want school kids to be like, oh, have you heard of Ritual? And they'll tell their mates and they'll think that they've discovered this new brand. And actually something that's matched in that is kind of how we go about our marketing. We don't want to be in your face. We don't push email marketing. We don't push sales. We don't run sales on our website. We want to keep it super high end, and definitely that's definitely through Nat's vision right from the off.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely evident, and I think there's always been that little air of class about what Ritual about. I love the branding, and I think have definitely taken influence from brands like Ritual in how I want Sport 101 to look and feel. Like I like that kind of aesthetic. It really pleases me like that. And I think that being pulled through, yeah, I think it definitely carries through. So yeah, big fan.
To come on board.
I love it. so happy.
Like me.
Grace is a little bit more out there. The random.
Right.
Am I broken up?
No, you're there.
Am I back?
You're back.
I'm back. Oh, I was just saying, yeah, some brands are less into the apparel. Grace definitely are working on that. But what I love about, I really admire about Ritual is the elegance, like you're saying, of the bags. And I sometimes wish that Grace would just bring one out that doesn't have bright orange all over it.
But Tess, think about it from the point of view, they sell. Kids want that. Kids want your bright sticks. Kids want.
Yeah, I want it too. I was just joking.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Sometimes you don't. You just want to be subtle. I think you've probably picked two polar opposite brands in terms of the greys, orange, and the Ritual kind of black kind of tones.
Or even Oboe and Ritual.
Oh gosh, Oboe.
I've just noticed your product placement.
Goalkeepers are awesome.
Ritual bag. Yeah.
Yeah, Oboe there. Ritual there.
Oh wow.
Oh, well played, Mike. Well played.
Done.
Mike, we need to get you some of these.
Yes, I need.
I thought
one
we
of
should
those.
get you.
Say again.
I thought it was just your suitcase. You're ready to head out of the country.
No.
Off you go.
Multi-purpose, perfect. There you go.
It's a nice bag.
Right, I've got a question here for. I'm going to put it to both Tess and Sabbie. Thoughts on the European schedule that's been announced today? Have you seen it? What your thoughts?
Have you seen it? I've looked at it.
Tess's face.
Sabbie, go first.
That's who's in our group.
Let's go on Google.
Test frantically
It's on our
Googled.
group.
No, go on. No, I think who's in our group? Russia, Italy, Germany.
I thought you meant go on the group chat.
Sabbie added Russia to the group chat.
Is it Russia?
That's awkward.
I don't know group.
I'm going to see if I can find it.
Our views are that we have to win that group. No, something.
Sorry, has it been changed?
No, it's just the actual schedule of when the games are.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, we got a good group. We're going. We're
So
going.
who's in your group?
Italy, Russia. It's Russia. I've not just made that up. Italy, Russia, Germany.
No, is it?
Yes,
I don't.
100%.
Because it's hot. It's Spain.
Holland.
Considering we're 4 hockey nerds, like we've done really well here.
It's a cracking
It's
question.
I had fitness testing today. Give me a break.
Euro hockey.
We get Dave on just to clear up what the groups actually are because he's clearly seen them.
I've crushed it. No, I haven't.
No.
I don't think Russia.
No,
are.
I was on about the men's group. Sorry. Germany, Belgium, Italy. Of course, we knew Belgium.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can answer the question.
What do you think of it, Tess?
What do I think of it?
Tess, I'll read you the schedule. So, oh gosh, this actually took me a long time. Women.
We will beat Belgium, we will beat Germany, and we will beat Italy. So I think it's a pretty good schedule.
No, in all seriousness,
Quite simple.
we actually need to qualify for the World Cup. So we need to actually get our game faces on for that tournament, don't we, Tess? No. Yeah, we've lost Tess.
Sorry, my awful. Well, yeah, we just have to win every match. And so, I mean, it's no different to any other Euros. Yeah.
It's like, it'll be super fun to play a tournament again, actually, and kind of get the momentum from each game and carry that through and get the kind of the team vibe again, because obviously we've not been in a tournament situation for quite a long time.
Oh God, yeah, it's been forever.
It's We won't discuss the last one.
Sometimes feels like it's a tournament. We like train as if it's a tournament. So back to back.
That's good.
Yeah,
Back to back.
our Pro League schedule is very much a tournament minded in terms of Germany.
Yeah.
Who is it? I know we don't know what we're doing with Argentina yet, but in terms of what June and July look like.
Yeah, but in all seriousness on that question, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the other pool, because we know what's happening in our pool. So it's interesting to see what happen in the other one, which is Ireland. You've got Spain and Holland and Scotland. Absolutely smashed that.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I was thinking,
Well, the Scottish girls in our team are like, well, I mean, they could very well, not easily, but they could come get through in that pool, because never know what happens in those games. No, top 2.
Olympic groups are top 3, aren't they? Is that right? No, Olympic groups top 4.
Yeah.
4 plays.
Yeah. The Ireland Scotland match will always be an interesting one.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
Bit of scouting for your Scottish guys last week, right? When you're out there, just had a good look at Ireland.
Definitely.
I hope Ireland scouted us.
Yeah, I hope as well at the Olympics. That was good.
Right. So we've got this is a nice question. It's from Andy Bernstein, South African legend. Mr. Beginning, how did they decide on the name Ritual? Now, I think I have an idea about this, but I want to hear the facts.
Good. I want to hear your idea.
So, is it? And I'm just going on this because of their branding. Is it about like your ritual to then go and play?
Exactly. One of our hashtags was "What's your ritual?" and kind of what's more behind you playing and kind of that aspect. And everyone's is super different. And actually, then Ritual as a brand brings all those people together. So you can have different, I don't know, from different backgrounds, from different countries, having their ritual, and then bringing it back together through the brand. And we often refer to what's your ritual in terms of stick choice as well. Good question.
Yeah. Yes.
I could have just made a couldn't I?
Yes, Neil.
Oh, that's cute. Is that Neil in the picture? He's doing well to operate in the. Neil's been doing well to operate the Mac, isn't he?
Yeah, he's lockdown, isn't he?
Very advanced child.
We've got what else? We've got Pew saying Ritual the underdog. I don't think he is an underdog, but we'll go with it.
To who?
Rich water bottles are great with a big spout. Ian bought quite a few, so thank you, Ian.
Said, hang on.
Oh, here we go. Marketing.
Oh,
yeah, I want one of those big ones.
Basically a litre and this little guy. Both, this one's been, I think we've gone with blender bottle again. Worked with them on this design. Actually, I'm on this one. They look like something I'm not going to repeat. No, we'll get these to the UK very soon. We're just waiting for some stock to arrive, and they will then be able to purchase.
Right, we're going to do 2 more questions. No, one more question, and then this from Neil. That's his personality in picture form. Very good.
Needs to get tea for a Friday night.
Yeah.
I wish I looked that good on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Right. Final question.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ball in.
We've gone in. So
views on okay. Question 1.
So actually, I'll read this out for when this goes to audio. So views on England Hockey Premier League being null and void, and views on Pro League behind closed doors, and will it affect team and player performance?
So section 1 of the question, null and void, obviously quite disappointed for the rest of kind of the teammates and kind of the Surbiton crew, and I'm sure Tess is the same for the EG lot and actually the rest of the league, because they won't be able to play hockey basically for another 6 months in terms of competitive matches. But we did lose to EG, so we weren't currently top of the table. So from that selfish point, but no, I think in all seriousness, I do actually feel I think it was probably the right decision in terms of where we're at in terms of COVID, and the health and actually of all the individuals is probably the most important and needs to be the most important until kind of we've got everything under control. And actually, I think especially Surbiton are kind of looking at other ways to kind of get competitive matches, whether that's kind of sticking to local clubs in the London area. Just to give, I don't know, we start training next week in terms of Surbiton and club stuff. Just kind of give them a bit of a focus and actually get back playing hockey, because they'll miss it and actually, unfortunately, haven't been as lucky as me and Tess have in terms of being able to play. But I think it was the right decision, because actually we'd only played 4 games. Tess, I think you might have played 6, 5.
How did you get in, Tess? Yeah.
Pardon?
We were 4 as well.
Yeah.
5, I think. Yeah.
I don't think we actually mentioned EG or Loughborough last week, by the way. Did we go a whole episode and not mention either?
I think it's been a while. So thank you, Sabbie, for bringing up club hockey again. No, we're really, we're sad, but it does fuel the fire for next season. So
No, exactly.
I didn't see a way with the timeline how you could get it in almost properly and fairly and call it a full season. Even if you got to 1 round of games, that's not a full season. And then you start to impinge on the calendar that you guys have and the availability of you guys in the Premier League particularly. That's massive. And actually, when it started, I think we were like, oh, what a bad time. Things are going quite well. And you actually think about the league. But the longer it's gone on, you just think about getting back out on the pitch. And the league is still there, but it's not as at the front of your mind. That's what I found anyway. And you think, actually, we get a train from Monday, and we are doing, and we get to put on some local fixtures when we can, and we're going to get a little window to play again. And it's just, you've missed it that much, and the programme have missed it that much. It's just going to be nice to be back out on the pitch. So it'll feel like quite a big win. Whereas I don't know, when did we stop? Late November? I can't remember. But it's been such a long time.
4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and I know the group will be like sad about the league situation and the competitive this year, which was great. But the main thing is going to be able to be back as a group, and the people that leave this year, our leavers, are going to be able to spend some more time with the squad, which is fantastic. So that's the priority, really.
Yeah, well put. Second part of that question, was that Pro League behind closed doors?
Yeah, here we go. So views on Pro League behind closed doors, will it affect team and player performance? Really interested to hear both your views on this.
Yeah, I think just from my point of view, I think over we've played 7 games, international fixtures over the last kind of 6 months behind closed doors. And obviously it's kind of a completely different atmosphere and different challenges, and actually, but it is something that we need to obviously get used to quickly. And I'm sure we will have discussions as a squad of how things might feel and look over the next kind of 6 months, and to make sure we are prepared the best we can. And actually, I'm sure it will affect different people differently. And actually, some people might actually like not having the pressure of fans or pressure of the support. And actually, on the flip side, people might miss the support because obviously friends and family aren't able to come, and they've obviously shared a lot of the journey and the experiences you've had kind of on your journey. And actually, it's a way of kind of giving back to them and kind of playing in front of them. So that's obviously really disappointing, and something that I'm sure I'm answering for Tess as well, in terms of we love playing in front of fans and actually giving them something to smile about and giving some putting on a show for them. But again, I think given the nature of this pandemic, it's probably the right decision. And actually, to give everyone kind of a heads up, quite a fine advance is obviously also quite good. And we're not kind of putting anyone out financially in terms of planning things around those Pro League weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the girls joked and asked me if I was getting a refund on my Hockey Family tickets because I signed up to them 2 years ago. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, I'm just really gutted for the fans. I think as a squad we'll handle it fine. We've got like a really tight bubble, and I actually think it will help potentially us stay within that focus. But yeah, the fans are really what make Lee Valley what it is, and the pride. That's what I love calling them, the pride. And yeah, I'm just really gutted that we plugged so hard for them to come in, and they were all signed up for tickets, and then yeah. So, but it does mean that when we do put on shows, I call them shows
Like that.
because that's really what they are, aren't they? Shows. Then it will be much better in the future. It'll be more exciting. And
yeah, when we win gold in Tokyo, the fans can then come and watch post that.
the top, yeah, yeah,
Like it.
the tour bus come around.
The tour bus will come round.
Right, I think we're going to finish there. Like, this has been 50 minutes. This has gone so fast. I cannot believe how quickly this has gone. It's been really cool to have you on, Sabbie. So thank you so much. And Gibbo, Tess, thank you as always. Gibbo, yeah, welcome back. Yeah, glad you're here. Thanks for gracing us with your presence this week, mate. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I thought this was season 2. I thought it was EP1's S2, this one, but you know.
Well, yeah, I should really update that. So I will get on that my end. So yeah, no problems there. But yeah, thank you so much, Sabbie. It's been really cool. And yeah, really look forward to hopefully seeing you guys in the flesh very soon.
Sweet.
That'll
Thanks
be good.
guys for letting me crash your Friday nights.
No, far from it. It's been amazing.
A lot of fun.
Perfect.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Guys, see you Monday, Tess.
Bye.